Hi, welcome to the Vagina Dialogues. I'm Shirley Weir from Menopause Chicks, and my guest today may not even need much of an introduction. She's, I hope, a regular fixture in the Menopause Chicks community. It's Kim Vopni, the Vagina Coach. Hi, Kim.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. I
Thank
know we have
you.
some exciting news, so we are dedicating this episode of the Vagina Dialogues to talk about an event that you have coming up. What is it?
Yeah. Kegels and Cocktails is coming up. So this is an event that's in the 11th year. And
Oh,
I know, it's
oh
kind
my
of
gosh,
crazy.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been three. So,
Yeah.
oh wow.
Yeah. I know. I can't kind of believe that it's been that long, but it's essentially when I first started my entrepreneur journey, like I technically started it very much on the side. It wasn't supposed to be a business. I had used this product in my pregnancies. I contacted the company, became a distributor. I was just going to make a little bit of side money. And in 2009, I was laid off from my corporate job. And I had, for the past few months, I had been thinking, I wonder if I could turn this product thing into a business and enable me to be more flexible, be home with my kids, blah, blah, blah. And so I said, I'll give myself a year to grow it on the side, more than I already had been. And then I would quit my job. And then 3 months later, I got laid off. So I thought, okay, here I go. I'm just going to go and do it. And so I had developed a website, and then I needed ways to get out in the community, because at the time we did not have social media. I think Twitter was maybe just emerging, and we didn't have kind of the same reach beyond our website. We didn't have the same reach. So it was very much community based, trying to get the word out. So I thought I'll do some sort of an event. And so I just was brainstorming, and the word Kegels, I figured most people have heard it at some point in their life, and they understand what it represents, in the sense of it's directed at the pelvis, or usually female. Men can do Kegels too. But anyway, so I felt, okay, it's Kegels. And then I kept trying to find it. And finally, one day it just was like a light bulb moment, because I wanted it to be a non-medical, non-boring,
Yeah.
super fun, super funky event. And Kegels was already kind of taking it down that medical route. And then as soon as I added cocktails, I'm like, ooh, now this is going to be a fun event. So the two together was meant to be, it sounds kind of catchy, I guess, but it was really meant to be a way to introduce pelvic health to women in a cool, fun, funky way. So that's kind of how it started. And then I thought of the name. So then I was like, okay, now I got to get speakers. And at the time I was living in Ontario. We had moved after my second son was born. We moved to Ontario for my husband's work, and we were living in Oakville, which is close to Burlington. And I had met this woman. I don't even remember where I met her, but I met this woman who was starting up this new spa just for women. And it was this old Victorian house that she had transformed into this beautiful spa. And so I went and met with her, and I said, let's host it. Like, let's do this event here. So the very first one was hosted at this, and I even forget the name because she's not in business anymore. But it was hosted at this amazing house spa. And not long after I had started that, I was attending an event with a women's networking group there. And one of the speakers, her name's Margaret Wallace Duffy, and she's very funny. She's a massage therapist in Ontario. And her business partner, who is a physio, stood up, and they were talking about women's health. And at one point they brought out a plunger, they had a construction hat on, and they were bringing light to the fact that women have all of these tools with them that they use as kind of band-aid approaches, and they're always taking care of everybody else, but they're never really truly addressing the problem. They're just trying to kind of, play duct tape, fix up and everything. So anyway, I after her presentation, I went up to her and I introduced myself, and I said, I'm very new to all this, but this is my passion. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm starting this event. Would you come and speak? And she's like, absolutely. So they both came, and that's kind of how it started. So I think the first event was 25 or 22 women, and those two were speaking. I spoke myself, and that was it, actually. And then I had one other woman. She was in charge at the time of the Women's Health initiative, which I don't think is no longer in place either. But anyway, that's kind of how it all started. And it was I mixed up some cocktails. I got some funny cupcakes made like vulvas, and that's kind of how it started. And it's taken off. And now it's 11 years. 11 years. I can't believe it.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I
Yeah.
bet 11 years ago, you probably couldn't have imagined your 2020 version.
Nope. I certainly
It's
could
going to be
have.
a little bit different. How is it going to be a little bit different?
I could not have. No, you're right. So obviously up until now, the events have been live, and they've always been in honor of World Continence Week, which happens the third week of June every year.
Okay.
And so there's been years where I have done more than the one event in June. And I have had a few different licensees around in Canada as well as in the United States who've hosted them at various different dates as well. But typically when I do it, it's World Continence Week, the third week of June. And it's usually live. So you were there last year. You were one of my amazing speakers, and we choose a really cool, place, and we have amazing cocktails, and we have it catered. It's an awesome night. There's swag bags, and now we can't do that. Hopefully just temporarily. But for now, we're going to take it online, and we're going to do a virtual version of Kegels and Cocktails. And we're going to, the cool thing is, it's opened up the opportunity to have a few more speakers. So I'm going to have a few more speakers join us, and it'll just be an online version. So we won't have as much of the mingling and the shopping and the kind of the girls' night out feel, but at least we are still honoring the importance of the week, and we are still sharing information that women can use for their own pelvic health.
Yeah, that's what I would want to underscore is, and it's fun, and it was, intended to be a girls' night out, but it really has always had an educational focus, and that's definitely going to be there this year. You've got some amazing speakers lined up. Do you want to give us a little review?
Yeah, so one thing I always sort of, I guess, mandated, and I strongly, for people who are licensees, I strongly recommend as well that we always have a pelvic floor physiotherapist. So
Right.
As you know, I speak ad nauseum about the benefits of pelvic floor physio, and they are really part of what got me so passionately involved in what I do. Because when I first started, yes, I created this event called Kegels and Cocktails. Yes, I had this event and created this website. And it wasn't until I had people calling me saying, "Oh, my pelvic health physio recommended me to you." And I thought, in my head, I'm like, what the hell is a pelvic floor physio? And so then I started to say, "Oh, who is it?" And I would reach out to them and say, "I need to learn more about what you do." And so the pelvic health physios have always been a big part of my journey. They're a big part of my kind of collaborative approach to pelvic health. I think that they are an integral part and a very underused part of our
Definitely.
women's health in general. So there's always a pelvic health physio, and this year I'm really excited because it's going to be my my former business partner Julia DePaulo. She's a pelvic floor physio in Toronto.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so we formed Bellies Inc. together, and she's no longer part of Bellies Inc., but we will be forever friends and amazing colleagues, and so I'm super excited to have her.
That's great.
So she'll come on, and she'll be sharing kind of what happens in a pelvic floor physio assessment. So I usually demonstrate that at in the evenings, but you'll hear directly from her. So she's going to be there. You, of course, are going to be there, and you're going to be talking all about a special. I'm going to save it to the end in a sec, but we're going to talk about kind of another mission about this event, particularly this year.
We have a lot of missions.
Yeah, we do.
You and I.
We do. I'm glad you're with me on them. But we're going to have Dr. Lori Brotto. So she's going to be talking about kind of debunking the desire. That's their hashtag, talking about women's libido and sexual health. And she spoke, I think it's maybe about 4 years ago now, 3 or 4 years ago at another one that I hosted in Port Moody. And yeah, everybody, I mean, like the most questions came to her at the end of her session. Cause
I mean, if you're watching this and you didn't know already, Dr. Lori Brotto, she's amazing. Her debunking desire video is our most watched video at Menopause Chicks.
Yeah.
And talking about libido, #1 question in 2019 at
totally.
Menopause Chicks. So that's a great reason to attend Kegels.
Yeah,
Okay.
super, super important topic. So she's, you know her, she's a great speaker, a great presenter. She'll be amazing. And then we've got Dr. Cara Dionisio, who I know was just on your Vagina Dialogues, which is great. So she's going to be talking about dryness and atrophy. She's a naturopathic doctor specializing in women's health. So I'm really excited to hear, because that's something, you know, you and I know very well. We talk about that very diligently, very a lot. We talk about it a lot in our businesses and within our communities. And then we're going to have Kendra and Sarah from, now when you and I, Shirley, when you and I spoke at the event for the executive assistants, when was that? It was like
the end of January.
January, yeah. So I was going to say 4 or 5 months ago, but there was a woman there who came up and she was chatting with us and she said, "Oh, I have to introduce you to my friend, Sarah." And so she pulled up, she goes, "Have you ever heard of them?" And she pulls up their Instagram page and it's called, the handle is Eat, Squat, Come. So I thought, okay, these are my people. I'm going to have to get to know them.
They're my people.
So I started following them and reached out and said, you know, I've just met your friend and she introduced me to you. And so I've been following what they do, and they are very much aligned with my principles of movement and nutrition, and they are very much, I'm not necessarily a sexual health coach, but of course sexual health plays a role in pelvic health. So I touch on that, but they're very much focused on that as well. So they're going to be coming in as a pair, and they're going to be talking about one tip from nutrition, one tip from movement, and one tip for sexual health. Oh, wow. And then who am I missing here?
Then we're going to
you. Well, you. I'm like, did I miss somebody else? And then you're going to be talking about your amazing Mokita Fund for Women. So as I originally, like, I reached out to you just because you and I together, I think we do some fun things and we have fun together. I always want to be doing things with you. So you were an immediate please talk at my event. And then, you know, at first I thought vaginal dryness, because that's such a huge part of what you're doing and the work you're doing with Pure Pharmacy. But then when Dr. Cara was coming in, and then I said, you know, I really want a portion of these ticket sales to go to the Mokita Fund for Women. So then it became, hey, I'm just going to talk about that. So tell us more about that. And then we'll talk about what the proceeds of the tickets are going to do.
Okay, for sure. First of all, thank you. Really, really grateful. So when you spoke at my Mokita event last July, we launched that night, and I could come up with a better name for it. So it's called the Mokita Fund for Women. And it was really born out of the fact that I hear from so many women who underscore the gap that exists in women's health. So as you know, we have a very active, engaged community at Menopause Chicks, but yet women still aren't always getting to see a hormone balance expert if that's who they want on their health team, or they're, you know, not able to access a pelvic floor physiotherapist. I mean, it's one thing if they know about the benefits of a pelvic floor physiotherapist, but what if they actually don't have health benefits that cover the cost of that, and that becomes a barrier? And so I just, you know, kind of laying awake one night, asked myself the question, what if there wasn't a barrier for women to get the health support that they need because they don't have the financial resources? And so it's a very grassroots movement. You know, there is no application form. Women can just add their name to our guest list. And what's happened since last summer is that we've had a number of women put their name on our guest list saying, I would really like to see a pelvic floor physiotherapist, and I don't have the funds to do so. So because of your generosity, we're actually going to be able to announce the next one, maybe two recipients from the Mokita Fund on June 18th and June, you know, at the event. So, I mean, that is definitely a reason to buy your ticket, because percentage of the proceeds are going to go to that fund. I think it will also just be, for those of you that are in attendance, it'll be heartwarming for you to hear the story of women who are just like, they're so humble and they're so grateful. Like our recipient last year, she had tried really hard to work through her experiences with anxiety and depression and sleep deprivation. And she really worked hard with her doctor, but her doctor only had so many tools in his toolkit.
Yep.
And so once we made a connection for her to go see a naturopath, and she was able to, engage in a hormone balancing protocol, like now she's living her best life, which is the ultimate goal. So
Yeah.
I'm imagining that we are going to be able to do that for a couple more women who will have the benefit of seeing a pelvic floor physio.
Yeah, I know. I'm super, super excited. So thank you for having the fund and for what you do. And I just think it was the perfect, I want to be able to give back. And, for a while it was the Women's Health Foundation, and now it's almost a more targeted approach, and being able to see directly who it is going to influence. And especially, as you say, the people who are in attendance will also be able to see that person, meet that person. And I think that that's amazing. So I'm super excited about it. So the tickets are only $20. So $10 of each ticket will go into the fund. And we would like to be able to send one or potentially even two people to see a pelvic floor physio. So so you can buy your tickets at kegelsandcocktails.com. And once you reach the page, when you click on events, it'll be under Canada and it'll say live virtual event. So that's the one that you want to be. And you can check out, I was just saying before we jumped on the call, I was saying that, it's fun to share photos from past events so you can see them on there. There's a couple of cool videos of what the live events are like. And of course, the virtual one will be a different feel, but that's okay. I think we're all kind of getting used to that right now, and knowing and being excited about when we're going to be back to those live events. You can kind of check out what they'll be like and look forward to when the next ones happen.
Yeah, you know what? I think it will be different, Kim, but I'm of the mind that it's going to be better. Like, I'm so excited that our members from across the country, from throughout North America, around the world, can attend Kegels and Cocktails. It doesn't matter where you are on your learning curve. If you've never heard the word Kegel before, come. If you've never heard of a pelvic floor physiotherapist before, come. You're going to learn something. If libido is one of the concerns at the top of your to-do list, come, because Dr. Lori Brotto is going to give you lots of great information. Dr. Kara, besides being a specialist and a rock star, in my opinion, she's also like very good at giving tips in how to talk to your own doctor so that you can get the care that you need. So like that is
huge.
Worth it. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. I think another benefit of being online too is that there are still some people, obviously I'm very comfortable talking about this. You're very comfortable talking about this. I've been doing this for years, and part of my mission really is to break down the stigma that surrounds pelvic health and normalizing conversations. But there are still people who it's very difficult for them to even explore or think about exploring this. And so coming to an open platform, a big live event can be very intimidating. So I think here they have the opportunity to be in their home and not even have their video on if they don't want to. And so I think that opens up a few doors for people as well, in a way.
For sure. Actually, you just touched a really important point too. Like, I'm thinking about, busy mom trying to get out the door for an 8:00 event. Where are you going, mom? Well, I'm going to an event called Kegels and Cocktails. Well, what's that? It's an important conversation, but it also could be a barrier for getting the education and the information that you and your speakers have to those women who need it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't need childcare. You don't need to pay for parking. Right. You don't have to dress up if you don't want to. So, can we
dress up?
We can dress up if we want to, but it's
from the shoulders up.
Yeah, because I know. I was just attending a conference this morning, and the joke was, because it's a business networking conference, and we were obviously supposed to be live, but everybody was saying, so we're like business on the top and pajamas on the bottom, pretty much. So you can come however you like.
Exactly. I just thought of one more thing too, because it's been an active conversation in the Menopause Chicks community this week, and that has been hysterectomy. And so I posed the question kind of, halfway down the thread to say, if you've had a hysterectomy, do you have a pelvic floor physiotherapist? And I was quite surprised to hear that many of those women do not.
Yeah.
Do you,
Yeah.
do you want to put a little plug in for that? Because I think it's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah. And it's interesting because hysterectomies can happen for many, many reasons. And it is, if not the second most performed surgery in North America. So one of the reasons that it could potentially be performed is for uterine prolapse. So prolapse meaning when the organs start to descend in, so the uterus, if it starts to descend into the vagina, would be considered an organ prolapse or a uterine prolapse. And one of the fixes, so to speak, would be removing the uterus. And I'm noticing, at least in my circle and the physicians that I hear, most of them generally will not just immediately, let's take it out. They'll try a little bit to preserve, but there also is a school of thought saying, well, if you're done having children, then why don't we just take it out? Then you don't have to menstruate anymore. And so in a sense, and I know it was for me, because I have had very, very heavy periods. The thought of not having a period again was kind of glorious. So there's like this dangling carrot that people think, oh my gosh, so it would solve my prolapse and I wouldn't have to have a period anymore. Okay, sign me up. And they go in quite blindly, and they don't necessarily understand the hormonal influence or the influence to the pelvic anatomy. So from like a landscape perspective, so here's the uterus right here, and that's the bladder, and then we have the rectum behind there. And when the uterus is taken out, with or without the ovaries, things need to be resuspended, and there's a gap, there's an open space where the uterus used to be. And without the knowledge of what that means, there's a freedom that comes after surgery with no more symptoms that could have potentially been preventing you from moving certain ways or what have you. So when women maybe go back to the way that they were exercising before, or if they haven't learned what potentially contributed to that, surgery has fixed symptoms. It has eliminated symptoms, has left a space there. And when movement and exercise strategies are not necessarily optimized, it can contribute to the other organs starting to actually descend into that empty space. So taking the uterus out, even though it is fixing an organ prolapse, can actually make you more likely to experience other organ prolapse. So it's like, it's so mind-boggling to me that women have this surgery and none of their healthcare providers have ever mentioned anything to do with ongoing maintenance. It's usually the classic, 6-week checkup. Everything looks great. Your stitches have healed. Now you're ready to go back to your regular activities. And then again, especially if they've had symptoms that prevented them from doing something, they all of a sudden have this freedom, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but that can sometimes, it's putting them down this path where they aren't necessarily aware of the risks. So yeah, it's a huge thing. It's a huge thing.
Huge. And I think what I want to say is, we all know someone who is had a hysterectomy, is waiting for surgery or whatever, that this is a great opportunity. It's a subset of the audience that's going to be attending Kegels and Cocktails, but reach out to them and have them come and join us on June 18th. Even if you're waiting for surgery or you had your surgery 20 years ago, you're going to learn something.
Yeah.
It's going to benefit your health long-term.
Totally. And two more, you just reminded me also. So we've recently had Cesarean Awareness Month. Now we have Pelvic Pain Awareness Month. So also, if you know people, or if you yourself are struggling with pelvic pain, or if you yourself or know somebody who's had a cesarean, a lot of times people who've had a cesarean say, well, I'm fine. My pelvic floor is fine because I had a cesarean. I didn't give birth vaginally. And people aren't necessarily aware of all of the changes biomechanically that have happened, hormonally that have happened. A lot of women that have cesarean have actually been in labor first, and then they've gone to a cesarean. So they have actually pushed, they've had some influence on the pelvic floor. And the surgery through the abdominal wall, it's, yes, you haven't given birth vaginally, but sometimes people who have cesarean are almost dealing with more challenges with regards to the pelvic floor. So those are two other kind of audiences that would really highly benefit from the evening. It's going to be a fun time.
Definitely. And then bring your mom too.
Yes.
I met your mom at last year's Kegels and Cocktails, but I've been thinking recently about how to get, like, especially the message around vaginal moisturizer, vaginal dryness.
Yeah.
How do we get that message to our mothers, our grandmothers, seniors in retirement communities, your aunt? Like, it's just probably not a conversation, like you said, that they would be comfortable coming out to an event. So, pull up your laptop and you can attend together.
Yeah, attend together. Totally. I think that's a great idea. And you don't even, like, maybe just say, hey, Mom, we're going to just say a women's health event.
Yeah.
You don't even have to say pelvic health, and just don't give them an opportunity to be like, oh no, I can't, so I think, we have to be talking with our moms, sisters, aunts, but also our daughters. We need to be talking about this to our daughters as well, because they're the next generation. And some of us maybe even have adult daughters who might have already had babies. And, but yeah, we just need to have the conversation amongst family and friends.
Pretty much. It's an event for everyone.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm really excited now. So tell us the details again. June 18th.
June 18th, it's from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific time. So that'll be 8 to 10 for the people on the East Coast, and then the in between time zones. But we wanted to try to accommodate most time zones to get as many people as possible. So tickets are available at kegelsandcocktails.com, and you will be clicking on the live virtual event. And remembering 10% or $10, so 50% of each ticket is going to support Mokita Fund for Women to help some lucky person attend a session with a pelvic floor physiotherapist. And and all the speakers and bios are listed on the website. And there's always, I like to interject a few little things here. I usually have some sort of draw questions, or I haven't quite figured all that out, but there's always a little bit of opportunity to win door prizes or something. And so there'll be some.
We'll bring some door prizes.
And we'll have, yeah.
Oh, and bring your own cocktail.
Oh yes, thank you for reminding me. Yes, so obviously, usually I'm providing cocktails, but we are not gathering all together in the same place. So bring whatever it is. It could be a cocktail, it could be a tea, it could be water, or whatever. Just bring something that we can kind of toast our vulvas, and yeah, it'll be a fun time. I'm really excited.
That's awesome, and congratulations! Your lineup of speakers are actually top drawer. They're amazing, amazing. So it's gonna be a great event. Thanks for joining us on the Vagina Dialogues.
Thank you for having me.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.